I transmigrated into a female CEO novel. As the villainous male supporting character, my mission was to win over the female lead and make her fall in love with me. But the system made a mistake. The male and female leads already had a fatal attraction between them. No matter how I tried to pursue her, the male and female leads would always meet at different times, and then fall in love. Unfortunately, I wasn't the male lead in this book. I was just a tool for the main couple. I had failed the previous 8 times. 8 times Jennifer and I got engaged. On our wedding day, the male lead cried and questioned whether my heart was black. Actually liking my own aunt, Jennifer just said coldly, "I want to see too." Then she literally dug out my heart. Now reborn for the 9th time, I suddenly felt tired and fed up. I no longer wanted to pursue my aunt, who had no blood relation to me, but chose to wait for death instead. Host's 9th reincarnation attempt to pursue Jennifer will be cleared. As the system's cold voice rang out, I opened my eyes. The pain of resurrection hadn't faded yet. My pupils filled with deep terror. Suddenly, I was pressed down in the living room, kneeling on the ground. Jennifer held a whip, mercilessly lashing my back. Clear bloody marks stained my clothes red. "You shouldn't have harbored evil thoughts toward your own aunt. 10 lashes for not harming your aunt. 10 lashes for being dramatic and running away from home. 10 lashes, Jennifer listed 9 reasons. 90 lashes in total, until I collapsed on the ground, falling unconscious before she stopped. Christopher looked at me like a dead dog, his lips curling up. Jennifer stepped over me with only one breath left, expressionlessly said to clean the floor. "Throw him in the warehouse. If he doesn't admit his mistakes, lock him up forever." I woke up from the pain. In the dark, damp warehouse, on a cold, moldy bed stained with blood, moonlight shone through the iron window. Everything around looked like a prison. I had long known Jennifer's love for Christopher. They were the male and female leads in this book. I was just a stepping stone, but I was only pursuing Jennifer. Yet I was tortured to death 8 times. Fate was like a merciless hand gripping my throat. I couldn't breathe. I no longer wanted to pursue Jennifer. I just wanted to escape this endless abyss as soon as possible. In a daze, I fell asleep again. The next day I was awakened by cold water. Before I could react, I was dragged out of the warehouse and thrown on the floor. Jennifer's beautiful face, her cold eyes filled with anger. "What did you put on the peace charm?" Christopher felt sick all night and couldn't sleep. I faced the interrogation. My bloodless face was full of bitterness. What could I do? What would I dare to do? Seeing my silence, Jennifer became even angrier. "It seems yesterday's lesson didn't make you realize your mistake. This time I absolutely won't show mercy." Jennifer slapped me across the face, grabbed my hair and slammed my head hard against the floor. I could only hear banging sounds like death knocking. My head went completely blank. Buzzing sounds surrounded me. Before my eyes was a twisted face. Blood splattered on the floor, blurring into scattered memories. I remembered when I first went to the orphanage, how Jennifer came up to me, like a savior holding me in her arms, gently saying we'd be family from now on. I remembered being bullied at school. Jennifer rushed into the school, frantically, forcing those bullies to kneel and beg for forgiveness, holding my face and crying, "No one will ever dare bully you again." Before I turned 18, Jennifer held me in her palm, gave me the best of everything. Her eyes only had me in them, so I developed the illusion, holding on to unrealistic hope through each rebirth, expecting to move her heart. But it was all wishful thinking. The woman before me, who hated me like a mortal enemy, who could imagine she was once my saving light? "You think by harming Christopher I'll accept you? Put away your filthy thoughts. In this life and the next, I will forever only be your aunt." Jennifer forced me to kneel in the courtyard. If I didn't admit my mistakes, I'd kneel until death. I didn't doubt Jennifer's murderous intent at all. I had been reborn 9 times and died miserably 8 times. I knew Jennifer's deep-rooted disgust for me all too well. Now I just wanted to stay as far from Jennifer as possible. I knelt outside for 3 days and nights. Through wind, rain, and scorching sun, the wounds on my back became infected and oozed pus and blood. If it weren't for grandfather's birthday, where he insisted on seeing me, Jennifer, mindful of grandfather, wouldn't have stopped punishing me. She had the servants take me to bathe, deliberately had them dress me in dark clothes, to hide my wounds all over. Coming to the birthday banquet and seeing grandfather, my hollow eyes finally showed a spark of life. In this world, the only person who cared about me was grandfather. My pursuit of Jennifer also had grandfather's support. Grandfather held my hand, seeing my terrible complexion. His expression changed dramatically, how did you get so thin? Your complexion is so poor too. Did Jennifer bully you? I'll go teach her a lesson. I quickly stopped grandfather, shaking my head slightly. Grandfather, I'm fine. I didn't want to cause more trouble, and I knew the consequences of grandfather's interference would be even more severe punishment. Grandfather stared into my eyes, keenly sensing my heart was like dead water. How could he not understand? He sighed deeply, his face full of bitterness. When your parents died, they entrusted you to the Johnson family. I failed to take good care of you. He had always known my feelings, and didn't oppose my pursuit of Jennifer. Compared to the scheming Christopher, he preferred me, knowing my background well. Facing grandfather's lament, I spoke from my heart. Grandfather, I want to leave the Johnson family, go outside and see the world. Grandfather's whole body trembled. Before he could speak, excited voices came from outside. Jennifer walked in arm with Christopher, arriving at the birthday banquet, becoming the most dazzling stars. This behavior was equivalent to announcing to their circle Christopher's status. The two were a perfect match of talent and beauty, instantly receiving everyone's blessings. I lowered my eyes and became very quiet. Grandfather's expression changed. After weighing his options, he finally made a decision. I probably understand your reasons for leaving. You've grown up. You have your own thoughts. In a week, I'll help you arrange everything. My heart trembled wildly. I could no longer control my tears. I bowed respectfully to the old man in gratitude. In 7 days, I would be able to leave the Johnson family, go to a place without Jennifer, quietly waiting for death. Fireworks ignited outside, blooming with Christopher's name. Under the brilliant fireworks, Jennifer leaned on Christopher's shoulder. The two looked so happy, costing millions. The blooming fireworks inscribed the love between Jennifer and Christopher, destined to become a legendary tale. I calmly watched the fireworks in the night sky. Jennifer's figure finally disappeared with the fireworks in my eyes. I suddenly longed for the days away from Jennifer. The air should be free, right? Still had to wait 7 more days. Grandfather's birthday banquet had become Jennifer's stage for showing off her love. After the banquet ended, I reluctantly said goodbye to grandfather, walked for over 6 hours, returned to the villa at 3 a.m. My feet were blistered, plus my back injuries had worsened. My head was dizzy, lying on the small bed in the warehouse, staring blankly at the night sky through the iron window. That night I couldn't sleep from the pain, silently counting down the time until I could leave. The warehouse door was pushed open. A graceful figure reeking of alcohol burst in, pressing heavily on my body, sealing my lips. I wanted to push her away, but had no strength. Looking up, I discovered it was Jennifer. I was utterly shocked. Jennifer frantically took from me. Jennifer didn't give me a chance to speak. Removing my clothes, Jennifer's lips were like flames in the cold night, almost melting me. But because of the intense movement, my back felt tearing pain. I finally came to my senses and pushed her away. This was the love I had dreamed of through 8 rebirths, yet now I felt nothing but repulsion. This 9th rebirth, I was already fed up. I only wanted to get far away from Jennifer. Even if it meant death, I had to escape. In the dark warehouse, Jennifer's eyes burned intensely. She called out Christopher, instantly bringing me back to reality. It was like being doused with cold water. My whole body turned ice cold. Jennifer had mistaken me for Christopher. Of course, in this book's world, Jennifer loved Christopher to her very bones. She could never accept anyone else. I had actually harbored a moment of fantasy. I don't know why. Perhaps she was too happy, about to marry her beloved. Jennifer was drunk, mistaking me for Christopher. Jennifer lay down and fell asleep, continuously calling Christopher's name. By the weak moonlight, that face I once depended on so much appeared. There were no longer waves of love in my heart. Since making the decision to leave, I no longer had any expectations. Dragging my injured body, limping, I walked out of the warehouse without looking back. Curled up on the living room sofa, half asleep, suddenly my face was slapped. Before my eyes was Jennifer's furious face. How did I end up in your room? Jennifer's eyes blazed with fire. This was a sign she was about to explode. Every time she got angry, I suffered worse than death. I hurriedly explained. I thought Jennifer would act like before, not asking right from wrong, but this time she fell into rare silence. She didn't curse or punish me, just dropped the words, "Go make breakfast." I smiled bitterly. After washing up, I went to the kitchen. Jennifer was pregnant, ordering me to take care of 4 meals a day, only because I had once tried to please her, remembering and learning all her favorite cuisines, never expecting it would become a means to humiliate me. I had no complaints. In 6 more days I could leave. Even if I died outside, at least my body would be free. Christopher walked into the kitchen, using the excuse of helping to ease relations. Watching me work busily, a sinister glint flashed in his eyes. I acted as if I hadn't noticed, calmly stirring the soup pot. "I will leave. Never again will I disturb you two," Christopher sneered coldly. "Who doesn't know you love Jennifer to your bones? How could you possibly give up easily?" I took a deep breath, slowly turned around. "You and Aunt are a match made in heaven. This is destiny. No one can separate you. In a few days, I will completely disappear, never to appear again." Christopher's expression was unpredictable. He glanced at the figure reading financial magazines on the sofa. A dark trace flashed in his pupils. "I don't believe it. Unless you completely disappear." He suddenly pushed me away, thrust his hand into the boiling soup pot, let out a miserable scream. My face changed dramatically. Anger and helplessness surged in my heart. I had already decided to leave Jennifer. Why wouldn't Christopher let me go? Having already gained all of Jennifer's love, why did he hate me to the bone? Jennifer rushed into the kitchen. When she saw Christopher's tragic state, the air around seemed to freeze. I stood there shaking my head continuously. Christopher clutched his scalded red arm, looking mournful. "Jennifer, I just wanted to help Henry. I didn't expect him to resent me so much. I can't stay to take care of you. Otherwise I'll be killed sooner or later." He pushed away Jennifer's support, staggered toward the front door. Jennifer quickly blocked him, looking at me with eyes full of anger and disappointment. "Why do you always want to harm Christopher? What wrong has he done? If you're capable, come at me instead." My face was full of bitterness as I lowered my head. "If I said I didn't do it, would you believe me?" Jennifer laughed in fury. "Capable of harming people, but not of admitting it." Her tone suddenly changed. "It seems I've been too good to you all these years, letting you make mistakes again and again. You really think grandfather can protect you?" Seeing Christopher's scalded hand, Jennifer was heartbroken to tears. She rushed at the fastest speed to the hospital, booking an entire floor, throwing money to have all the experts attend to Christopher. It was clearly just a minor burn, yet it seemed like the end of the world. The entire hospital operated at high speed, afraid of the slightest mistake. Outsiders all envied Christopher, having such a caring wife. When Christopher was having surgery, Jennifer forced me to kneel outside. "If something happens to Christopher, I want you to be buried with him." I sensed Jennifer's hatred. My heart was full of bitterness, but I didn't argue back. I knew very clearly that even if evidence was placed before her, Jennifer would never believe it. When the doctor came out of the emergency room, he informed Jennifer the patient had severe burns, requiring skin grafts. Hearing how serious it was, Jennifer nearly fainted, glaring at me through gritted teeth. "Look at what you've done. Why can't you tolerate Christopher? The doctor will use his skin to transplant onto Christopher. No anesthesia allowed. I want him to experience Christopher's pain. Remember today's lesson for the rest of his life." After speaking, ignoring my resistance, she forcibly pressed me onto the hospital bed. When the doctor on my thighs cut the skin piece by piece, miserable screams echoed from the operating room. It took a full 2 hours. The skin on both thighs had no intact areas. I was in agony, finally passed out. After the surgery, Jennifer stayed at the hospital, personally taking care of Christopher, tasting all his food. Even a sip of hot water had to be tested first, before it could be delivered to Christopher's mouth. Her love for Christopher moved the entire hospital. All the medical staff who witnessed it showed envious expressions. "Mr. Wilson is so fortunate to marry such a wonderful woman like Ms. Johnson." You didn't see how worried Ms. Johnson looked, so loving. Christopher, hearing the outsider's praise, his face full of happiness, his tone full of concern. "Jennifer, Henry is still a child. I won't blame him. Please don't punish him, okay?" Jennifer held Christopher's hand, deeply moved. "Christopher, you're just too kind-hearted. That's why he keeps hurting you. If I don't teach him a lesson this time, what will happen in the future?" The more generous Christopher was in pleading, the angrier Jennifer became, determined to punish me severely. Watching Jennifer leave, the concern on Christopher's face disappeared. Looking out the window, his gaze turned cold. Jennifer's beautiful face coldly kicked open the adjacent hospital room. "Henry, listen carefully." The room was empty. I wasn't there. Her voice stopped abruptly. She turned to the nurse beside her, confused. "Where is he?" When the nurse said the patient had just been discharged, Jennifer sneered coldly, knowing he had made a grave mistake. wanting to escape. This time I won't let you live. You'll continue to frame Christopher in the future. Jennifer was certain I had fled in guilt. Flying into a rage, immediately mobilized everyone to search for my whereabouts. At this time, I had left the hospital, dragging my severely injured body through the streets. The wounds on my back, the torn skin on my thighs. With intense movement, the wounds split open. But I had endured too much. I just wanted to escape this hell as quickly as possible. I never wanted to see Jennifer again. Even though I had done nothing wrong, what awaited me would only be a miserable death. The scorching summer day surrounded me like a steamer. Everything before my eyes seemed like flames. I walked aimlessly through the streets. Bloody footprints on the ground. The foul smell made passers-by cover their noses. I was completely unaware. My mind was made up. Even if I died outside, it would be better than staying with Jennifer. Unfortunately, the Johnson family quickly found my trail. Jennifer brought a group of bodyguards, cornering me on the overpass. My face turned pale. I smiled bitterly. You still want to run? Jennifer approached me step by step, eyes blazing. Christopher is so kind, yet you're so vicious. You think by harming Christopher they first could accept you. Henry, you're absolutely disgusting. If I had known you were this kind of vicious person, I wouldn't have brought you back from the orphanage. I knew Jennifer hated me, but hearing her say those words, my heart felt like it was stabbed with a knife. I leaned against the railing and suddenly gave up struggling. I looked deeply at Jennifer, this woman I had loved deeply for years, reborn 8 times without regret. Now she only had towering hatred for me. Why, when I decided to give up pursuing her, when I planned to die quietly, heaven still wouldn't let me go. I felt my fate was tightly controlled by a giant hand, unable to escape from its palm. Extreme despair surged in my heart. I understood that even if I struggled to survive, I would only suffer more. Aunt, thank you for taking care of me all these years. For the last time, I didn't frame Christopher. I just want to leave you forever. After speaking, under Jennifer's terrified gaze, I leapt, jumping down from the overpass. Before I fell, I seemed to see Jennifer's anguished face. Fortunately, I jumped from the overpass and crashed into tents below. Though I didn't die, I was severely injured. I lay in the hospital, smelling disinfectant, looking at the white clouds in the sky outside the window. My eyes were hollow, devoid of any emotion. I was like a controlled puppet, my heart filled with despair. Even wanting to die wasn't achievable. I was tired of being a stepping stone for the main couple. Now I only wanted freedom. Even just one day would be enough. In my mind appeared the scene of jumping from the bridge, Jennifer's heartbroken expression, as if it were all a dream. In the past, I might have held onto a thread of hope that Jennifer would eventually be moved by my true feelings. But I knew clearly in my heart, as the main couple, they could never be separated. Their wedding day would be my death date. I no longer held unrealistic fantasies about the future. I also couldn't escape from the hospital. Whatever punishment Jennifer would inflict next, I didn't care at all. Since I was going to die anyway, I might as well wait quietly. Jennifer came to the hospital room, seeing my injured face. Her angry questioning got stuck in her throat and she fell silent, perhaps remembering when I was once in a vegetative state. The warm moments when we kept each other company, perhaps remembering when I jumped from the bridge, my angry and desperate questioning. Jennifer only said, "Recover well from your injuries," then turned and left. I was stunned, thinking that even if I didn't die, I would probably face Jennifer's cruel punishment next. I had imagined countless ways to die, but never expected her to just leave. But I didn't think deeply about it. Living now meant dying later anyway. Jennifer returned to the adjacent hospital room, facing Christopher's passionate gaze, her expression slightly awkward. Henry is severely injured. He's young and bound to make mistakes. Let it go. Christopher's face darkened slightly, subconsciously wanting to stir up trouble. I saw Jennifer's impatient expression and chose to stay silent. He appeared gentle and considerate. Jennifer, you did nothing wrong. Henry has some misunderstandings about me. As long as we're good to him, we'll eventually move his heart. Jennifer was deeply moved. Christopher, I love you. I'll always love you. Christopher gently patted Jennifer's back, his eyes surging with crazy jealousy, his tone especially gentle. I love you too. Jennifer had actually softened toward me. This wouldn't do. Christopher absolutely wouldn't allow anyone to steal Jennifer's love, not even the slightest possibility. Jennifer's concern for me made Christopher feel a strong sense of crisis. He couldn't let things develop this way. He had to find a way to get rid of me for the next 2 days. Besides accompanying Christopher, Jennifer would also visit me in the adjacent room. Christopher didn't get jealous. Instead, actively sought me out. I knew Christopher's hypocrisy, knew my ending would be death. So I simply closed my eyes and chose to ignore it. Jennifer wanted to explode several times, but seeing my scarred body, she held back. On discharge day, Jennifer rarely let me ride in the same car. I had no right to resist. Obediently, got into the Maybach, looking at the constantly flowing scenery outside the window, thinking I had 2 more days before I could fly away. I didn't know when the main couple would marry. I only knew that after leaving, every day alive counted. Returning to the villa, Jennifer specially had the guest room cleaned, asked me to move in. I didn't refuse. Angering Jennifer at this time wouldn't be wise. It would only add to my suffering. But that night, I lay in bed looking at the stars in the night sky, not knowing what I was thinking. The whip marks on my back, the wounds on my thighs reminded me I hadn't escaped hell yet. Every moment was torment. No news came from grandfather. I could only endure and stay in this hell. Jennifer somehow came to my room, silently watching me. In the dim environment, I stared at the woman before me, as if returning to the past. Jennifer remembered my determination when jumping from the bridge, remembered what I said when facing death, full of anger and despair. She couldn't help but reflect on her recent behavior. She seemed to have truly hurt me deeply. Jennifer came to the room, wanting to resolve the misunderstanding between us. Henry, don't love me anymore. Let's just have a normal aunt-nephew relationship, okay? Jennifer's voice trembled, hesitantly reaching out to stroke my head. My whole body shuddered, feeling Jennifer's sincerity. My eyes reddened as I nodded. Jennifer showed a smile, like returning to when I was 6, holding me close. I closed my eyes, silently thinking just 2 more days until I could leave, both with our own thoughts, immersed in beautiful memories. The door was suddenly pushed open. They turned around abruptly, seeing Christopher's pale face standing in the doorway. Jennifer froze in place for several seconds, panic flickering in her eyes. She suddenly pushed me to the ground, chasing after Christopher. I lay on the ground, my wounds reopening, blood staining the floor red. The pain was excruciating. I silently got up, through the window watching the departing figures. Jennifer's attitude toward me had changed. If I maintained our aunt-nephew relationship, perhaps I wouldn't have to suffer. But her love for Christopher remained unchanged. Once they married, my ending would still be death. I returned to bed lying on my side, as if enjoying the peace before death. I looked forward to the days of escape, whether 1 day or 1 second. That would be free breathing. I no longer dreamed, slept until dawn, just as I was in a daze. My body was violently pulled up. The pain immediately woke me. I saw Jennifer's icy beautiful face staring at me intently. Her expression dramatically changed. A huge fear enveloped my entire body, as if returning to the previous 8 rebirths. The terror of dying miserably at her hands. Jennifer was just as terrifying then. Why did you provoke Christopher? She left upset and got into a car accident. She's lying in the hospital dying. Jennifer grabbed my neck, shaking me frantically, gritting her teeth. You and he have the same blood type. Go to the hospital immediately for a transfusion. Not giving me a chance to speak, Jennifer dragged me into the car, running through dozens of red lights. I was as disheveled as a dead dog the whole way. I couldn't understand why, after just talking about reconciliation last night, the next day she became so crazy. The female lead's personality in this book was truly unpredictable. Whether I had done anything or not, I was wrong and guilty. Doctor, they have the same blood type. Hurry and save him. Jennifer stared at me with red eyes. You caused Christopher to hemorrhage severely. If something happens to him, I'll kill you first. I was tied to the hospital bed, but after examination, the doctor looked troubled. Ms. Johnson, this gentleman is too weak physically. If we draw too much blood, it could be life-threatening. Given the patient's current condition, we could wait. For the blood bank, no need to wait. Jennifer stopped the doctor's advice. He owes Christopher this. Just draw the blood. Even if he dies, you won't be held responsible. I looked at Jennifer in disbelief. Did she really want me dead this badly? I had clearly given up pursuing her. Only wanted to leave as soon as possible. So why? Was the ending still the same? I opened my mouth, wanting to argue a few words. But meeting Jennifer's cold and merciless gaze, I chose to stay silent. Just draw it. It's fine. I closed my eyes, my heart cutting like a knife. I understood that resistance would be futile. Under Jennifer's coercion, the doctor drew 800 cc of my blood, but Jennifer worried it wasn't enough. Ordered the doctor to double it. My whole body trembled. White light appeared before my eyes. I seemed to see another death approaching. Despite the doctor shouting, they couldn't draw anymore. Jennifer still insisted. My body functions plummeted. My heart rate dropped accordingly. I slowly closed my eyes. By the next day, after resuscitation, I hadn't died. I was still alive. When I woke up, Jennifer was rarely sitting beside me. I didn't look at her, but gazed out the window. When Jennifer forced me to give double the blood, the gratitude that had barely formed vanished again. No matter what I did, the ending was only death. Jennifer's face was cold, but her tone was rarely gentle. Christopher is out of life-threatening danger. The incident was still caused by you, but you've also paid the price. Let's call it even. I stared expressionlessly at the ceiling. Jennifer held my face, her tone full of compulsion. To make up to Christopher, I plan to marry soon, so I've decided to hold the wedding tomorrow. I looked at Jennifer in shock. So soon? Tomorrow was the day grandfather arranged for me to leave. If the main couple got married, I would die immediately. Jennifer didn't give me a chance to refuse. Christopher said he wants you as best man. He hopes you can witness our love. I've already brought the clothes to the hospital. Tomorrow, just change and go directly to the wedding venue. After speaking, she got up and left. Soon, Jennifer's secretary brought several suits to the hospital room, then explained some precautions. I ignored everything throughout. Strong unwillingness burned in my heart. At this time, grandfather called, saying everything was arranged. I could leave tomorrow. I gripped the phone tightly, falling silent. Should I still go? The plane might not even take off. Before the wedding was complete, I would die on the plane. But thinking of the pain I'd endured through 9 rebirths, my eyes became more determined. By the next day, everything was prepared. Jennifer called, warning me not to cause trouble at the wedding. Otherwise she would make me disappear. "Aunt, don't worry, I won't." My unexpectedly calm answer made Jennifer fall into brief silence. She felt like something had changed. "Good that you understand. Hurry over." Jennifer didn't think much of it, and hung up. Because of Jennifer and Christopher's wedding, the hospital's surveillance was weakened, mainly to prevent me from going to the wedding to cause trouble. I easily left the hospital, got into the car grandfather had arranged. Hurry. On the way to the airport I kept urging. The airport was ahead, the sky above, seeing freedom within reach. I relaxed instead, seeming to sense the approaching death. I glanced toward where the wedding was being held, carrying a simple canvas bag. I boarded the departing plane. Even 1 second of freedom counted as freedom. "Jennifer, I don't want to pursue you anymore. Let's never see each other again." Jennifer loved Christopher deeply. Everyone in their circle knew. Christopher, in his custom suit, stood outside greeting guests, his face full of happy smiles. A car accident had successfully forced Jennifer to agree to marriage. This should be Christopher's most profitable deal. About to become Jennifer's husband, Christopher became the object of countless people's envy. The wedding was about to begin. Christopher fantasized about the scene after marrying Jennifer. He would openly enter the Johnson family, no longer suffer grandfather's cold looks. "Jennifer, are you feeling unwell?" Christopher saw Jennifer's restlessness. She had been frequently looking outside from the beginning. He understood what she was waiting for, extremely annoyed but didn't dare show it. All these years to marry Jennifer, he had worked hard to play the gentle, magnanimous good man. At this crucial wedding moment, Jennifer's absent-minded appearance made Christopher feel intense hatred. Henry probably can't accept it temporarily. The best man thing was just something I said casually. "It's fine if he doesn't come." Christopher held Jennifer's hand, personally comforting her. "From now on, I'll be his brother-in-law. I'll get along well with him." Jennifer was irritated and restless, glancing toward the hospital's direction. More than an hour had passed. From hospital to chapel was at most 10 minutes. I still hadn't appeared. For some reason, in Jennifer's mind, appeared the scene from my 18th birthday night, when she discovered I had secretly hidden her underwear. She had severely punished me with whipping. I was kneeling on the ground covered in blood, begging pitifully, saying I had to pursue her, otherwise I would die. Jennifer thought it was just an excuse, nothing more than a means to gain sympathy. Since learning of my filthy thoughts, Jennifer tried every way to erase my obsession. wanting to use coldness and ruthlessness to eliminate that passionate love. This was also one of the reasons she rushed to marry Christopher. According to Jennifer's guess, I wouldn't give up easily. I would definitely cause trouble at the wedding, so she forced me to be the best man, to personally witness her marrying Christopher, so I would give up completely. For this, Jennifer specially arranged a bunch of security, specifically to prevent me from causing trouble. But so much time had passed, I hadn't appeared at all. Jennifer originally thought she would be very happy. At least I had figured things out, but she couldn't be happy. She couldn't even force a smile facing Christopher. Hurry to the hospital to check on my nephew. How can he hide during the wedding? Jennifer called her assistant urgently, telling her I must attend the wedding. Otherwise, I would leave the Johnson family forever. She felt this threat would definitely force me to compromise. The assistant received the order and left. Christopher saw Jennifer still cared about me at this moment. His jealousy reached the sky, his pupils filled with resentment. Jennifer, today is our important day. All the distinguished guests are here. We should go inside first. Otherwise, there's no way to explain. Christopher looked aggrieved. Jennifer wanted to refuse, but seeing his distressed appearance, she nodded, and they walked into the chapel. At that moment, they won countless applause, witnessed by all the guests. The wedding proceeded smoothly. Christopher was so excited his face turned red, looking at the woman before him, his eyes full of deep affection. In contrast, Jennifer, though smiling on the surface, was mentally disturbed, just felt everything around was too noisy. The assistant still hadn't reported news about me. When the pastor asked Christopher if he was willing to take Jennifer as his wife, never to part for life, Christopher nodded without hesitation. When the pastor asked Jennifer the same question, Jennifer chose silence. The guests below looked up expectantly, waiting for Jennifer's response. Jennifer. Christopher saw Jennifer's absent-minded appearance, his heart anxious, couldn't help but urge, if the wedding had problems, he would become the laughingstock of their circle. The consequences would be unbearable. Jennifer's expression was uncertain, seeing Christopher's pleading gaze. She wanted to agree, but for some reason, my face appeared in her mind, desperate and hollow. I had said before, if she married Christopher, I would die. Jennifer clenched her fists, looked once more at the chapel entrance, her expression wavering. Under the gaze of the city's elite, under her lover's pleas, Jennifer knew clearly she should answer, I do, and the wedding would end. But these simple 3 words couldn't come out, as if there was an invisible force covering her mouth. After several minutes of internal struggle, Jennifer decided to be true to her heart's most honest thoughts. She gave Christopher an apologetic look. The wedding is postponed, Jennifer announced. The wedding is postponed, leaving a crowd of stunned guests. She couldn't care about anything else. Walked straight backstage. Christopher clenched his palms, his face flushed with anger. Strong resentment surged in his heart. At the most crucial moment, just one sentence, and he could openly become Jennifer's husband. Why postpone it? Christopher could no longer control his anger. Grabbing Jennifer, Jennifer, do you know what you're doing? Our wedding has nothing to do with Henry. He'd deliberately ran away to sabotage the wedding. Didn't we predict this before? Jennifer, I'm begging you, let's finish the wedding first, then find him. I'll even kneel and apologize if needed. Jennifer looked at the man before her, feeling guilty. Christopher, the wedding was prepared hastily. After some time passes, we'll hold a wedding 10 times grander. Okay, Henry is a child with an extreme personality. I promised his parents I'd take good care of him. I can't let anything happen to him. The reason for rushing the wedding, besides giving my beloved an explanation quickly, was also hoping to cut off my obsession. But I jumped from the bridge without hesitation. That desperate expression facing death lingered in my mind. Every time Jennifer remembered, her heart felt heavy. She vaguely felt that once the wedding was completed, something bad would definitely happen. Jennifer, are you really going to abandon our years of feelings for that bastard Henry? Seeing Jennifer determined to postpone the wedding, Christopher exploded. His face became twisted. What is he, anyway? A worthless person adopted by the Johnson family. What right does he have to ruin my wedding? If he's capable, let him die outside. Never come back. Jennifer's whole body trembled, looking at Christopher in disbelief. She had always thought Christopher was elegant and refined, but his current appearance was even more terrifying than when Henry was at his most extreme. Christopher realized he said the wrong thing, grabbing Jennifer's hand, desperately pleading, Jennifer, I was too impulsive. I shouldn't have said that. But Henry is an adult. Nothing will happen to him. Jennifer was greatly disappointed by Christopher's reaction. More determined to delay the wedding, she turned and left. Christopher stood there stunned. Henry, just you wait. Strong murderous intent surged in his heart, wishing he could tear Henry to pieces. Jennifer walked out of the chapel, rushed to the hospital as fast as possible. Learning I had been discharged, she went straight to the villa without stopping. She thought even if I was discharged, I had nowhere to go. I could only stay at home. But after searching the entire villa, there was no trace of me. Jennifer rubbed her temples, turned to instruct her assistant. Have someone go to the garage and pick out a sports car. Send it to the old mansion. Also go to the mall and buy that watch. Send it over together. In her expectation, if I wasn't at the villa, I could only be at the old mansion. But soon, the assistant called. The young master isn't at the old mansion. He went to the airport. Jennifer's face changed dramatically. She stood up abruptly. What's he doing at the airport? Hurry and send people to bring him back. Now his wings have grown, playing the fly-away game. Her expression was angry. She thought I was just throwing a tantrum. If she wasn't worried about my body not being able to handle it, she would definitely use the whip. The assistant smiled bitterly. Ms. Johnson, we checked. Mr. Henry's plane took off 2 hours ago, but we don't know where he went. It seems someone specifically covered his departure tracks. Jennifer was struck like lightning. Overwhelming fury surged in her pupils. He's rebelled. He actually dared to leave. Panic arose in Jennifer's heart, as if things were spinning out of control. She spent an entire day, used all of the Johnson family's resources, yet couldn't find any trace of me. At this point, Jennifer realized the seriousness. My departure wasn't like a tantrum, but a real intention to leave her, no matter what the cost. She had to find me. Jennifer lost her usual composure, shouting angrily at her assistant. She vaguely felt she might completely lose me this time. She only wanted to cut off my inappropriate feelings. Never intended for us to separate. But why did her heart feel so empty, still aching slightly? In a small southwestern town, with sunset and evening glow, I sat on a rattan chair halfway up the mountain. I didn't follow grandfather's arrangement to go abroad for study, to learn design. Instead, I changed planes at the airport, landing in this remote small town. From boarding the plane to arriving at the small town, I tried to breathe the free air, preparing to face death. In this book's world, when Jennifer and Christopher got married, I would vanish into smoke. But the death I waited for 2 days never came. Instead, I survived to this small town. I had always wanted to go somewhere with wind, sit on a mountaintop watching the sunset, spending my remaining life there. No love, no hate, only wind. I didn't know Jennifer postponed the wedding, but that didn't matter. As the main couple, no matter what difficulties they encountered, lovers would eventually be united. That would be my time to die. Before dying, I wanted freedom, even if just for 1 second. Before leaving, I brought the bank card grandfather gave me. It had enough money to last a lifetime, so I didn't need to worry about making a living. I followed a sketching team to the small town. They were a group of art college students. Looking at their young faces, carefree appearance, I was extremely envious. If I hadn't needed to pursue Jennifer, I would be as happy as these people. I didn't join them, but rented a house halfway up the mountain in the town, bought a plot of land with good feng shui, left a will. After my death, I would provide money to the landlord to bury me here. I refused to communicate with outsiders. Also didn't inquire about news from the outside world. Every day, I sat on the rattan chair halfway up the mountain, watching the scenery, as if wanting to make up for more than 10 years of regret. I had lived 9 lives. This last time I'd live for myself. Half a month passed. I discovered death hadn't arrived as expected. Instead, I felt more attached to the world. Jennifer and Christopher were a natural pair. Impossible to separate. Then why wasn't I dead? I, who had originally accepted death peacefully, gradually felt more attachment and reluctance. My dead heart came back to life. In this bright house halfway up the mountain, a bit of survival instinct emerged. 3 more days passed. I prepared anxiously to face death. Jennifer became my nightmare. Even escaping the villa couldn't shake her off. Halfway up the mountain, after the rain cleared, I endured nights of nightmares, gradually able to accept fate peacefully. I realized continuing like this was just wasting time. Even if I was to die the next second, I should be free. So besides blowing in the wind on the mountainside at dawn, I would also go watch the college students sketching. Returning home in the evening, I walked into the small courtyard, discovered new tenants had moved into the neighboring house. Through the low wall's fence, I saw a tall girl, swinging on a swing. She had an aura that kept strangers away. The girl also noticed me, but had no interest in communicating, as if the red clouds and sunset on the horizon were more interesting. I didn't think much of it. As someone who could die at any moment, I had no expectations of the outside world. I bought a canvas and paints, drawing the world in my heart with some style. Days passed like this one by one. Every time I went out sketching, I would see the girl on the swing in the neighboring yard. The girl was aloof, so I didn't disturb her. I sensed the same aura from the girl, just like when I first came to the small town, extremely resistant to the outside world. Sometimes I would wonder what the girl had experienced, but as soon as the thought arose, I smiled self-mockingly. What right did I have to meddle in others' affairs now? Another sunny day. I picked up my canvas, planning to go down the mountain sketching. The moment I opened the door, a bone-chilling wind hit me head-on. Jennifer stood at the door, her eyes shooting flames of anger. The clear sky. The moment Jennifer appeared, I felt my heart grow heavy. The colorful scenery became hell. Jennifer was a nightmare from hell. My face instantly turned pale. I instinctively stepped back. Reborn 9 times, died miserably 8 times, each time dying at Jennifer's hands. This brought me severe psychological trauma. Have you caused enough trouble? Jennifer spent great effort, finally tracking down my whereabouts. Immediately dropped everything to rush to the small town. She thought after I saw her, the resentment in my heart would disappear. I would be overjoyed as before. But what was my expression? The moment I saw her, the terror and disgust projected from my eyes deeply stabbed Jennifer's heart. Jennifer's face darkened. Her anger flared. She viciously slapped me. It seems I was still too good to you. Remembering how I died miserably at Jennifer's hands 8 times, the hatred buried deep in my heart unconsciously surged up. Now in my 9th rebirth, I had nothing left to lose, nothing but death. My eyes flashed with determination. I grabbed Jennifer's wrist and threw her aside. Jennifer almost fell, furiously shouted, "You dare resist." I almost wanted to laugh hearing this. I suddenly realized, when I decided to give up pursuing her, when I no longer held any hope for Jennifer, everything was illusion. No matter what I did, the result was only death. Why not fight back fiercely? I took a deep breath, looking at the morning glories dancing in the wind on the fence, ignoring Jennifer's murderous gaze, my tone self-mocking. "Aunt, do you remember what you promised me at the orphanage gate?" Jennifer's whole body trembled. Her eyes became evasive. "After my parents' car accident, I was thrown into the orphanage. Jennifer brought me home, despite family opposition. That evening, the setting sun hung in the sky. Jennifer bathed in golden sunlight, stroking my little head, her face showing a gentle smile. "Henry, be good. From now on, I'm your family. I won't let you suffer any harm." From the orphanage back home, Jennifer indeed kept her original promise, taking good care of me, gave me all her love. But I don't know when it started. Everything changed. The little boy who used to like to cry in her arms when wronged became a disgusting beast, as if everything I did was wrong. The self-mockery on my face, the death in my eyes, like a needle piercing her heart. Jennifer's lips trembled. Her tone became gentle. "Henry, come home. Because of you, I postponed my wedding with Christopher. Stop causing trouble." Trouble? I shook my head, my expression cold. "Aunt, you think I'm disgusting. Shouldn't have those filthy thoughts. Even said I should get as far away as possible. I've already chosen to leave. Will never disturb you and Christopher again. Why do you think I'm causing trouble? You keep saying we have an aunt-nephew relationship. But what aunt in this world whips her nephew like an animal, covered in blood, forces him to kneel in the courtyard for 3 days and nights, regardless of his collapsing body, forcibly draws his blood? You tell me, who would treasure such an aunt? I can't possibly go home with you. Even if I die here, it's better than staying in that hell-like villa." My words were like sharp scissors, cutting through Jennifer's body. She stared wide-eyed, her face full of disbelief. What did she see in my eyes? Deep hatred, like dirty flowers blooming from dark sewers. Jennifer asked herself if she had wronged me. She raised me all the way. How much time and emotion she invested. Yet this was the result she got. Jennifer laughed in fury, her pupils flickering with towering rage. She hadn't expected my resistance to be so fierce, like being slapped hard across the face. This made Jennifer, who dominated the business world, and always had her way, unable to accept it, breeding intense anger. She had postponed her wedding with Christopher for me, becoming the laughingstock of their circle, then dropped everything to come before me, thinking I would obediently go home. But my words were like a heavy punch, hitting her heart hard. Last time, come home with me. I can pretend not to see your previous nonsense. If you continue throwing tantrums, I won't tolerate it. Jennifer suppressed her anger, staring into my eyes, issuing warnings word by word. I didn't answer, quietly watching the gradually setting sun, like human life that would eventually go to death. Whether I went back or not, the ending was death, facing the culprit who made me die miserably for 8 lifetimes. I looked at Jennifer again, without the former dependence and love. I won't go home with you, even if I die here. My answer successfully enraged Jennifer. Her face looked extremely ugly, her eyes shooting fire. What did you say? Jennifer raised her hand to strike my face, but the moment our eyes met, all anger disappeared. She saw in my eyes the despair of not fearing death and liberation. Being angry should have limits. It seems I've been too lenient with you, making you increasingly reckless. Since that's the case, let's properly learn some manners next. Jennifer turned and walked outside. 2 bodyguards rushed in and controlled me forcefully. I didn't resist, also knowing resistance was useless. I looked back at the courtyard, thinking of the unfinished landscape painting in the room, my eyes full of regret. I had stayed in the house halfway up the mountain for a month. Got 1 month of true freedom. That was satisfying enough. When being taken away, I couldn't help but glance at the neighboring courtyard. It seemed a pair of eyes looked over. That quiet girl who liked swinging. Too bad I never asked her name. I was brought back to the villa and thrown into the warehouse. No food for 3 days. Even now, Jennifer still thought I was throwing a tantrum. Perhaps it was at age 18, when I put my aunt's underwear in my arms. Later, too many times, for the sake of pursuing her, I put myself in the dust, making Jennifer mistakenly think everything I did was nothing more than seeking attention. Before darkness fell, Jennifer stood at the door looking down, staring at the figure curled in the corner. How arrogant and disgusting. No matter what plan you have in mind, I won't tolerate it anymore. I will never possibly agree to your filthy thoughts. Reflect well. When you figure it out, I'll let you out. The warehouse door closed. Everything before my eyes was pitch black. I didn't shout and scream like before, but lay on the floor and closed my eyes. Returning to the hell-like villa didn't make me more afraid. Instead, I silently waited for that day to come. In the living room, Jennifer discussed the wedding with Christopher again. To show her apology, the wedding budget increased tenfold. They were the main couple in the book. No matter what difficulties they encountered, they would eventually be together. Jennifer indeed loved Christopher deeply, satisfying his every request. Jennifer appeared to be listening, but her thoughts drifted to the warehouse. A week had passed. I still hadn't surrendered, making her extremely angry inside. Christopher was talking about the wedding arrangements when footsteps came from outside. Jennifer's whole body trembled. She looked sharply at the assistant entering. As he realized his mistake, the assistant looked stiff. Head down, Miss Johnson. Young master is in trouble. Jennifer threw a huge tantrum at the hospital, scolding the doctors bloody, only because my treatment was going poorly. Several times I came back from death's door but didn't wake up. What happened? Facing Jennifer's inquiry, the attending doctor told the truth. I had been starved in the warehouse for 7 days. If the assistant hadn't discovered me in time, I might already be dead, sent to the hospital for IV nutrition. But the situation still didn't improve, mainly because the will to live wasn't strong enough. Jennifer's face turned pale. Panic flashed in her eyes, remembering the confrontation in the small town courtyard. Her heart inexplicably ached. I would rather die than surrender. Jennifer realized things were spiraling out of control. That extremely obedient and sensible child now used death to protest. She looked at my pale face, confusion appearing in her eyes. Jennifer never expected that to prevent her wedding. I was determined to die. You think this way I'll let you act recklessly? Jennifer was furious. Christopher and I are true love. Even if the sky falls, no one can stop us from getting married. Since you like lying there, then lie there. Jennifer angrily walked out of the hospital room, instructed them to start preparing the wedding. She wanted to use the wedding to force me to wake up, marry Christopher right in front of me. A wedding 10 times more luxurious than before was held again. The scene was so grand, Christopher welcomed his moment of glory. He stood at the chapel entrance, facing the envious gazes of the guests. His heart was so excited he almost jumped. During this time he kept a low profile, playing the gentle and considerate husband role. He no longer targeted me, instead persuaded Jennifer to be tolerant. This effect was extremely obvious. The wedding ceremony proceeded as usual, much smoother than before. Finally came the pastor's inquiry stage. Christopher naturally was willing 1,000 times over. When it was Jennifer's turn, everyone couldn't help but get nervous. Last time it was at this point, Jennifer suddenly announced postponing the wedding, making Christopher a huge laughingstock. Do you take this man to be your husband, to love and be faithful to him, whether he's poor, sick or disabled until death? The pastor's vows echoed in the chapel. The wedding scene immediately became tense. Everyone looked at Jennifer on stage in unison. Christopher clenched his fists, sweat beading on his forehead. He had worked so hard for so many years, just waiting for Jennifer's "I do." Jennifer opened her mouth, instinctively wanting to answer, but for some reason, my words floated in her mind. After the wedding, I will die. Originally, she just took it as my nonsense, but that ominous premonition grew stronger. Jennifer had the illusion that once she answered, she would lose me forever. Facing everyone's expectant gazes, Jennifer's heart felt like it was being gripped. Inexplicable panic. She couldn't help but look toward the hospital. Even she felt somewhat reluctant about this wedding. After learning I was determined to die, anger overcame reason, and she hastily arranged the wedding. The purpose was to force me to wake up. According to her calculations, my obsession with her was so deep. How could I continue playing dead? I would definitely rush to the scene to stop it. But the wedding was about to end. I seemed to have no reaction at all. Could what I said be true? Jennifer's expression changed. In front of everyone, she called her assistant, asking about my condition. The assistant had been guarding at the hospital, besides preventing me from acting rashly, also to expose my lies. But when the assistant answered that I hadn't woken up, and had gone into cardiac arrest, requiring emergency care, Jennifer's head exploded. Unprecedented panic surged in her heart. She really might completely lose me. How could this happen? Jennifer couldn't care about anything anymore, left the stunned crowd and rushed outside. Behind Jennifer came Christopher's mournful voice, his face full of pain, his voice trembling continuously. Are you really postponing the wedding again for Henry? Jennifer's heart stabbed with pain. She wanted to rush up and embrace Christopher, but she held back. She didn't answer, rushed out of the chapel toward the hospital. Christopher's face was deathly pale, the whispers around him, like clusters of scorching flames, burning him beyond recognition. He once again became the abandoned man, a laughingstock. Christopher stared outside intently, his pupils undisguised with towering hatred. In the hospital room, Jennifer stared at me just out of the emergency room, her face showing no real emotion. I turned to look at the sky outside the window. I didn't want to talk to Jennifer. When the chapel wedding was about to end, I really thought I was going to die too. Saw death beckoning, though somewhat regretful. I hadn't finished that landscape painting, hadn't asked the swinging girl's name, but being reborn into this book's world 9 times, I was disgusted with pursuing anyone. Scenes of dying miserably 8 times flashed through my mind. Better to leave, painfully. Jennifer's face was gloomy, but seeing my dead eyes, she trembled, falling into long silence. Her gaze somewhat confused. I seemed to have changed. No longer the obedient child from before. No longer a chess piece she could control at will. Jennifer thought bringing me home would return things to how they were. But she was terribly wrong. I really wanted to die, unwilling to look at her even once. Jennifer was irritated and confused. She just wanted me to understand. The feelings between us were impossible. She would always love Christopher. Once the wedding was done, I would give up completely, then stay obediently by her side, just like when she brought me home from the orphanage. The house had one more person, making the cold villa warm and binding. Seeing my continued silence, Jennifer's emotions reached breaking point. She made up her mind, since I wanted to leave, then get lost, just as she prepared to speak. Footsteps came from outside. Christopher walked in, didn't become hysterical over the wedding being postponed again. Instead came to the bedside, hesitating to speak. Jennifer, I want to talk to Henry alone. Christopher, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Has nothing to do with Henry. It's a matter of life and death. I can't turn a blind eye. It's okay. Christopher held Jennifer's hand. Not only wasn't he angry, but softly comforted her, You're carrying our child. How could I not trust you?" Seeing him so understanding, Jennifer felt even more guilty. "What's wrong?" Jennifer saw Christopher seemed to have something hard to say, quickly touched his forehead. "Are you feeling unwell?" Christopher's expression changed, his gaze wandering between me and Jennifer. Jennifer realized he had something to say, led him outside, showing an inquiring look. At first, Christopher shook his head in denial, but under Jennifer's firm attitude, he produced a transfer record. Jennifer couldn't understand at first. After hearing the explanation, her expression turned furious. What Christopher produced was a transfer record of me paying some doctor, slandering me for deliberately playing dead to sabotage the wedding. Jennifer's eyes turned red. She gritted her teeth and rushed into the room, yanking me up. "I worried about your health in vain. This is how you repay me." Jennifer threw the transfer record at me. The sharp paper cut my cheek. Blood dropped on the hospital gown, staining it with a bright red flower. I suddenly looked up and glanced at the record, my heart filled with desolation. Even though I had decided to wait for death and no longer pursue Jennifer, her unhesitating favoritism toward Christopher was like a dull knife stabbing my heart. Jennifer should have known with even a little thought. Since returning to the villa, I was imprisoned in the warehouse. How could I possibly have had the chance to transfer money? Yet Jennifer still believed it. This was the unwavering love of the main couple in this book, with no one else in their eyes. "Don't you have anything to say?" Jennifer grabbed my collar and shouted. I wiped the blood from my mouth, my tone sarcastic. "Whatever you say is right. No matter what I say, you won't believe it anyway. Henry, I raised you for over 10 years. This is how you repay me. When you were most desperate, I gave you a home, used all my strength to be good to you, and you not only harbored evil thoughts, but constantly destroyed my happiness. You're so disappointing. You're just banking on grandfather's favoritism, thinking I won't do anything to you, right? I can tell you now. Everything I could give you over these years, I can take back." Jennifer's tone turned ice cold, no longer carrying the previous guilt and unease, but filled with hatred instead. If there was a hell in this world, then Jennifer was hell's center. I was brought back to the villa, imprisoned in the warehouse. Jennifer wanted me to understand that my current life all came from her charity. She stripped away everything from me, leaving only half a life. I had realized my fate since returning from the small town. Never bowed my head from beginning to end. Even if I died, I would die standing. My attitude enraged Jennifer. Only a little food each day. In the scorching summer, she removed the air conditioning. The warehouse temperature reached nearly 40 degrees. Before leaving, Jennifer sneered, "You were originally an orphan. I gave you good living conditions. Since you're ungrateful, then experience the colorful life of an orphan. Even if you apologize and submit now, I could never forgive you." Jennifer stared into my eyes, wanting to see regret and panic. Even just a trace would be worth the risk of being discovered by grandfather for keeping someone imprisoned in the warehouse. But my coldness severely provoked Jennifer. People around thought Jennifer had gone mad. There was no need to make things difficult for me, but she herself didn't know why she insisted on my submission, even if it delayed company business, even if it meant neglecting her fiancé Christopher. These days Jennifer often came to the villa, asking if I had submitted. The result was always the same: I would rather die than yield. Through the warehouse's small window, Jennifer saw me lying in bed, staring blankly at the ceiling, like a walking corpse. Even hotter anger burned in her heart. Jennifer dropped a line, "Keep him locked up. Let's see how long he can last." Until now, Jennifer still thought I was throwing a tantrum against the powerful Johnson family. I had no room to resist. In my 9th rebirth, silently waiting for death was my final stubbornness. I was disgusted with pursuing Jennifer, just wanted to fly far away, quietly find a place to wait for death. But why couldn't I achieve such a simple thing? In this book's world, there was a mysterious force gripping fate's throat, trapping me in endless despair. That night, after being imprisoned for half a month, heavy rain poured outside. Lightning and thunder illuminated my pale face in the dark warehouse. I sat up and looked outside, then submitted to the assistant at the door. I admit my mistake. The assistant was so moved he almost cried. "I'll notify Ms. Johnson immediately. Someone quickly call a doctor." Jennifer learned of my submission, immediately rushed to the villa, driving on the road. Even though she couldn't see the path clearly, Jennifer insisted on going home. Christopher sat beside her, not deliberately mentioning me, instead chatting about marriage, being stood up twice, becoming the circle's laughingstock. He still wasn't angry. Jennifer looked out the window, listening to Christopher's suggestions, her thoughts drifting to the villa. What did you say? She was in a good mood. During this time, it felt like a 1,000-pound burden pressed on her. She couldn't muster energy for anything. Christopher called several times before she reacted. Seeing Jennifer distracted, Christopher was secretly furious, hating me thoroughly. I had ruined his wedding twice. Even now, Jennifer's feelings toward Henry had shifted, no longer centering on Christopher like before. Even when they lay in bed, every sentence involved Henry. This was completely unacceptable to Christopher. It's fine, since Henry admits his mistake. I'll treat him well from now on. Won't hold grudges. Jennifer nodded and sighed. If only Henry were as understanding as you. The car entered the villa. Jennifer, being pregnant, rushed through the heavy rain into the living room, wanting to see me immediately. Bang! Someone jumped directly from the top floor, crashing onto the floor in front of her. Jennifer looked down. It was me. Blood mixed with rainwater stained the courtyard red. Jennifer stood frozen in place, letting the heavy rain wash over her. I had been sent to the hospital, life or death unknown, but Jennifer still hadn't come to her senses. Shock and confusion flickered in her pupils. Even now, unable to accept my jumping from the building, Jennifer stood in the rain. I lay in blood. Our eyes met as if separated by a world. Though we could clearly see each other's faces, yet couldn't hear any sound. My closed eye expression kept floating in her mind, not pain but relief. Did I really want to leave that badly? Jennifer's cold eyes leapt with scorching fury, her full anger unable to be released. If not for Christopher holding her tightly, crying and begging her to protect the child in her belly, she probably would have exploded on the spot. She caressed her abdomen, hesitated a moment, then followed Christopher into the living room. She let Christopher lead her into the living room. She let Christopher pull her into the bathroom to bathe, change clothes, lying in bed staring blankly at the ceiling. No matter how gently Christopher comforted her, Jennifer tossed and turned, unable to sleep. She desperately wanted to know my condition, but my resolute jump from the building stabbed her heart. Since you want to die so badly, then go die. Don't dirty my sight. Jennifer dropped these words, then closed her eyes, swearing never to care about me again. This wasn't my first time in the hospital's emergency room. This time I took an enormous risk. Locked in the warehouse, unable to contact the outside world, I could only wait to die. So, I could only use jumping from the building to get grandfather's attention. Sure enough, after emergency treatment, I was out of life-threatening danger. I successfully saw grandfather. At this time, I was extremely weak, but my eyes showed hopeful light, excitedly wanting to sit up, recover well. I'll handle the rest. From now on, grandfather first asked the doctor about the specific situation. Learning that after some recovery, I could be discharged, he held my hand, eyes filled with tears, constantly apologizing to my parents. He hadn't taken good care of me. I proposed wanting to leave, so grandfather promised the doctor before leaving. Never looked back again. I watched his departing figure from the high building, feeling extremely guilty. I actually shouldn't have dragged grandfather into this, but this was the only way to escape Jennifer's control. Grandfather lost his son and daughter-in-law very early. His only granddaughter also disappeared. It was the Johnson family adopting Jennifer that preserved his only granddaughter. Grandfather was extremely grateful to the Johnson family, even willing to let me marry Jennifer as repayment. But he never expected Jennifer not only didn't accept me, but constantly tormented me, far exceeding grandfather's bottom line. When I would rather jump from a building and commit suicide than stay, grandfather knew forcing was useless. He had to solve the problem quickly. Otherwise, if something happened to me, he couldn't face my deceased parents. That night, grandfather brought people storming into the villa. Seeing Jennifer sitting on the sofa resting, raised his hand and slapped her hard across the face. Christopher's face changed dramatically, hurriedly knelt before grandfather pleading, "Grandfather, this has nothing to do with Jennifer. I arranged everything." Grandfather looked down at Christopher, displaying the authority of a family head. He had dominated business for many years, developing a powerful aura. These years, as Jennifer grew up, gradually taking over the family business, he was able to enjoy his later years. But his authority remained. Just one look made Christopher's face turn pale. Jennifer wiped the blood from her mouth corner, bravely met grandfather's gaze. When Henry's parents entrusted their child to you, Is this how you repay them? Grandfather's face turned red, pointing at Jennifer's nose and roaring. Jennifer sneered, from childhood to now. I never treated him poorly. It was because of your acquiescence that he developed inappropriate, filthy thoughts. I can repay the debt, but absolutely cannot marry him. Grandfather was furious. Jennifer's gaze was firm. Since I returned to the Johnson family, everything followed your wishes. I never dared to slack off in the slightest, only in choosing a partner. I only love Christopher. She hated me, besides finding my thoughts dirty, also wanting to spite grandfather. This was her only leverage to resist grandfather. Grandfather gripped his cane tightly, wanting to scold, but seeing tears in his granddaughter's eyes, his heart softened, sighed deeply. If that's the case, why not let him go? This time it was Jennifer's turn to be silent. From now on, I won't interfere with your wedding, and will personally attend. As a condition, you must let Henry go. Jennifer's whole body trembled, looking at grandfather in disbelief. Christopher was overjoyed, hurriedly gave Jennifer meaningful looks. Grandfather hadn't attended the 2 previous weddings. Besides considering Henry as his grandson-in-law, he also didn't approve of Christopher. This made Christopher extremely resentful, but he didn't dare have any opinions. This time grandfather's golden promise was exactly what he most wanted. Under grandfather's stern gaze, Jennifer fell into confusion. She should have been happy that her years of fighting for love finally had a beautiful ending. But thinking about my leaving, why wasn't she as happy as imagined? Don't forget you're already pregnant. Grandfather dropped this line and turned to leave. Jennifer's face turned pale again, caressing her abdomen, falling into deep conflict. Half a month later I was discharged. Couldn't wait to rush to the airport. Although I had grandfather's guarantee, I didn't want to stay one more second. I vaguely felt that given Jennifer's personality, she couldn't possibly give up easily. Sure enough, I was intercepted halfway and brought back to the villa. Jennifer stared at me. In my eyes, she could no longer see the former attachment and expectation, only deathly silence. I would rather die than stay. Jennifer suppressed her anger and questioned me. I smiled self-mockingly. Isn't my performance obvious enough? Jennifer trembled with rage. With a wave of her hand, a truck full of burning coals hadn't stopped yet. Scorching air rushed toward me. From the villa to the gate, the 1,000-meter path was quickly covered with glowing red coals. Jennifer sneered coldly. Walk this path barefoot. Then we're even. Henry, I treated you well. But what did you do? For selfish reasons you ruined my wedding twice. Is this how you repay kindness? Since you see the Johnson family as a cage and want to leave, just walk across barefoot. All debts will be settled. Jennifer's tone was cold. Because of extreme anger, no one else's pleas mattered. In her heart, my running away from home, jumping from buildings was just throwing tantrums. She was tired of me and wanted to sever ties. She wanted to push me into a desperate situation. Without waiting for Jennifer's reminder, I calmly took off my shoes and walked toward the burning coals. The assistant hurriedly stepped forward to stop me. Young master, don't do this. People will die. Jennifer's pupils flickered with scorching fury as she roared. Don't interfere with him. When she saw me, without hesitation, placed both feet on the burning coals. The air filled with the smell of burning flesh. Her voice stopped abruptly, her pupils constricted, her heart utterly shaken. She knew too well what I feared. When my parents died in that car accident, they perished in the burning vehicle. Since then, I had a natural fear of flames. That's why she chose to pave the path with burning coals, forcing me to bow my head. But I would rather face my fears directly than stay by her side. Jennifer stood rigidly in place, biting her lips hard. With a thunderous crash, the sky poured down torrential rain, extinguishing the coals. Everything before her eyes became blurry. Jennifer didn't know when I had left, letting the rain fall on her body, cold until her face turned deathly pale. Even now, unable to accept reality, I had really left. No one dared step forward to console her. Just meeting Jennifer's murderous gaze was enough to frighten them. Even when Christopher approached, he was pushed away. The heavy rain stopped. Jennifer fainted. The villa fell into chaos. Jennifer woke up in the hospital, becoming silent and withdrawn. No smile on her face. Besides Christopher, no one dared approach. After discharge, Jennifer seemed like a different person, throwing all her energy into work. Even when doctors warned she might miscarry, Christopher pleaded several times for this. Jennifer remained unmoved. 7 days passed like this. Jennifer numbed herself with work, but every time she stopped, my image would float in her mind. She remembered when I was 6 years old, sunlight falling on my young face, the hopeful light in my eyes. She remembered when I was 18, a kiss at the birthday party, how I blushed with embarrassment. Countless scenes flashed through her mind. Jennifer shook her head violently, wanting to forget everything about me. But those thoughts were like sparks, burning wildly. Jennifer returned to the villa in a daze. Before entering, she smelled the aroma of food. She showed wild joy and rushed inside, seeing someone busy in the kitchen. Called out, "Henry." But after seeing clearly who it was, the air instantly froze. Christopher, holding a bowl of soup. His smile gradually disappeared, anger burning in his heart, almost ready to burn down the entire villa. 7 days since Henry left, Jennifer seemed like a different person, no longer centering on him, instead often ignoring him. That cry just now completely shattered Christopher's patience. I was right after all. You fell in love with Henry, didn't you? Without letting Jennifer explain, Christopher angrily rushed out of the villa. Jennifer stood in place, didn't chase after him as usual. Her gaze fell on the broken ceramic bowl on the floor, like cracks appearing in her heart. Christopher's questioning before leaving was devastating, making Jennifer's expression confused. Did she really love me? As soon as the thought arose, Jennifer's face became extremely ugly. How could she possibly like me, that child she watched grow up? She was 10 years older than me. Over the next month, Jennifer, to verify that her true love was Christopher, treated him better than before. During the day, hot air balloons floated over the city, hanging banners saying, "Jennifer will always love Christopher," drawing countless people's envy, becoming a beautiful sight. At night, all the streets' big screens played their engagement photos in rotation. Their love became the object of all young people's praise. Everywhere were legends of their love. As if to verify true love, Jennifer held a third wedding, and solemnly promised Christopher to let the whole world see her happiness. Christopher wept with joy, with endless sweet words. On the wedding day, grandfather kept his word, personally came to the chapel, and presented Christopher with a jade pendant. Only a grandson-in-law could have. Receiving the jade pendant, Christopher's eyes reddened. He respectfully knelt and called out, "Grandfather." He knew grandfather had accepted his identity, would never make things difficult again. The entire world was watching this spectacular wedding. Grandfather even invited many old friends, specifically paving the way for Jennifer and Christopher. This hadn't happened in the previous 2 attempts, showing the degree of importance placed on this wedding. Just when everyone thought this wedding would proceed smoothly, Christopher fantasized about future happiness backstage, but Jennifer was nowhere to be seen. Everyone searched for a long time but couldn't find her. Christopher's heart was in chaos, his face extremely frightened, remembering the variables from the previous 2 times, his eyes full of anger and resentment. He had already become a huge laughingstock twice, being gossiped about when walking on the street, the subject of dinner conversations in their circle. If Jennifer delayed the wedding again this time, his reputation would plummet to the depths. But Jennifer did run away from the wedding, not just delaying it. When everyone expected the bride to appear, they waited for hours, but never saw Jennifer's figure. The scene became chaotic. Grandfather, sitting below, had a dark expression, roaring orders to find his granddaughter immediately. Even when night fell, Jennifer didn't appear. The grand wedding became a huge joke. Guests dispersed from the chapel center. Christopher, in his expensive suit, stared blankly ahead, his expression constantly changing. He suddenly looked up and laughed wildly, frantically smashing things, so furious he vomited blood and collapsed. Christopher lay on the ground, his gaze hollow. He had lost completely, without me interfering or grandfather blocking. The originally straightforward wedding failed for the 3rd time. Endless despair surged over him, breeding terrible hatred. Christopher ripped off his suit and strode outside. He once hated me and grandfather, but now he hated Jennifer even more. The entire time he was searching for news of Jennifer. Jennifer had come to the abandoned orphanage, standing outside the fence, looking at the blooming morning glories, her expression wavering. She didn't know why. During this time, she desperately tried to prove her only love was Christopher. But every time she showed affection, in her mind, my despairing departing figure would appear. She endured for a long time, finally choosing to retreat at the most important moment of marriage. She was absolutely certain she really cared about me, but she also deeply loved Christopher. Wavering between the two, Jennifer felt she was going mad, as if a hand was forcing her to choose. Christopher harmed me, but every time she had thoughts about me, that force would strangle them. Now under obsession, she seemed to break free from control. An absurd thought surged in her heart. She wanted to find me and bring me back. But where was I? I returned to the southwestern small town, walking barefoot across the scalding coals. I was severely injured, staying in the hospital for over a month. I couldn't wait for my legs to fully recover. Came to the house halfway up the mountain in a wheelchair. The morning glories on the fence hadn't yet withered. That unfinished landscape painting was left in the room. The cemetery plot behind the house went unused. I treated each day as the last day of my life, without my own interference. Jennifer would soon marry Christopher, running toward happiness. Their wedding day would be my death date. I calmly waited for that day to come. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next year, maybe the next moment. I didn't care, just wanted to experience the feeling of freedom as much as possible. The mountain breeze was cold, yet carried a sweet taste. I ultimately didn't have the courage to ask the girl next door her name, since last time being forcibly taken away by Jennifer, right under her nose. It was indescribably embarrassing. My favorite thing was to turn the wheelchair, stay on the grass watching the scenery, sit under the banyan tree overlooking the entire small town. I don't know how many times I dozed in the sun under the tree. I smelled the fragrance of jasmine flowers. Opening my eyes, my expression froze. The girl from next door who never went out was now carrying a canvas walking past behind me. Our eyes met. I saw her appearance clearly. My pupils flashed with surprise. The girl was tall, with delicate and beautiful features. She had an aura that kept strangers away. I only looked once, and knew we were separated by a world. Out of neighborly politeness, I nodded to her, thinking it would just be a nodding acquaintance. But the girl stopped, asked, "What are you doing?" I didn't know how to answer. Hadn't expected the girl to initiate conversation. For a moment, I was somewhat flustered, but quickly remembered my situation. Looking at the drifting clouds in the sky, and the birds flying by, softly said, "Waiting to die." The girl was stunned for a moment, blinking her big eyes, seriously thinking, as if pondering my answer. Soon she smiled, like cloud flowers on a mountaintop illuminating my world. So she wasn't that aloof after all. She could smile too. Her smile was truly beautiful. Her name was Sophia. This was our first conversation. The next day when we met, I could already walk. The first thing after discarding the wheelchair was to carry my canvas down the mountain. During this time I was indeed waiting to die. Since leaving the villa, Jennifer and Christopher should have quickly held their wedding. But after waiting a long time, death still hadn't come. There were still many things unfinished. I had to complete that painting, had to walk through the entire small town, had to plant morning glories throughout the courtyard. Once I completed those wishes one by one, I could quietly lie in the resting place I'd chosen long ago. I hadn't expected to travel with Sophia. When leaving, I happened to encounter her carrying her canvas. Our eyes met. Though we didn't speak, we had a tacit understanding and went down the mountain together. We toured the entire small town, went to the mountaintop to watch sunrise, came to the riverside to paint the stilt houses, even joined the students who came to sketch, enjoying the bonfire party, watching the flames illuminate young faces. I wondered when I would die. Even dying now would be worth it. On the way back, even without streetlights, it was still bright, moonlight like water, fireflies surrounding us. Every step we could hear each other's heartbeat. I didn't ask Sophia why she lived alone halfway up the mountain. Everyone had their own story. From going down the mountain to returning home, we didn't say a single word. In silence we seemed to feel each other's thoughts. Before parting, Sophia stood at the door, deliberately pausing, waiting for something, her eyes holding inexplicable expectation. I keenly sensed her thoughts. Just one word from me might pierce through that thin barrier, but I ultimately chose to keep my mouth shut. Pushed open the courtyard gate. I was someone who could die at any moment. How could I delay someone else's youth, waste another person's feelings? During this time I lived extremely fulfillingly. Besides that unfinished landscape painting, morning glory seeds were scattered throughout the courtyard. On a bright morning, I woke to birdsong. As usual, carried my canvas out of the courtyard. Again, happened to encounter Sophia leaving. We walked down the mountain with tacit understanding. Facing the sunlight, warmth spread through my whole body. I turned to look at her slender neck. It was the creator's artwork. A thought suddenly surged in my heart. That unfinished painting had always lacked soul, and Sophia was what I'd been searching for. I stopped walking, just about to extend an invitation to Sophia, suddenly trembling all over. Staring ahead, my face instantly turned ugly. Jennifer stood not far away, looking at us with complex eyes. Between us seemed like two different worlds, half clear sky, half dark clouds. As Jennifer approached, the dark clouds spread, covering the bright sun. My world plunged into darkness. Heavy, oppressive air struck me. I glanced at the canvas in my hands, feeling helpless. It seemed I wouldn't have a chance to complete that painting. Jennifer's gaze fell on Sophia. Seeing our intimate behavior, her face darkened. After causing trouble outside for months, it's time to come home. I looked at Jennifer calmly, no longer wanting to explain. In Jennifer's eyes, what she decided was right. Jennifer's face looked ugly, pointing at Sophia with a cold sneer. Now I know why you don't want to return. You have a woman out here. Women outside are scheming. You're young. How could you understand love? Without giving me a chance to speak, she grabbed my hand and roughly dragged me toward the car. She wanted to forcibly take me away. I broke free and stepped back, my gaze determined. Jennifer's whole body shook, looking at me in disbelief. You dare defy me for her? I laughed bitterly. You said that, as long as I walked barefoot across the burning coals, all debts would be settled. From then on, you're no longer my aunt, and I'm not your nephew. So in what capacity are you lecturing me? Jennifer trembled with rage, anger blazing in her heart. Just because I raised you, whatever I do is right. What happened before was just angry words. No need to take it seriously. I'm giving you one last chance to come home with me. Let's pretend nothing happened. If you persist in your delusion, don't blame me for using force. Your parents entrusted you to me. I can't let you run wild outside. Facing Jennifer's seemingly generous excuse, I was already immune. I shook my head with determined eyes. Even if I die, I'll die in this small town, buried in that cemetery. Henry clearly doesn't want to go. Why are you forcing him? Sophia frowned and stood beside me, ignoring Jennifer's cold expression. He's an adult, doesn't need others meddling. My face changed dramatically. I hurriedly pushed Sophia away. Jennifer was a madwoman. She could do anything. I didn't want to drag Sophia into this. Sophia refused to back down, determined to stand up for me, lecturing Jennifer. She had seen Jennifer's domineering, heartless ways, almost treating me like a puppet. Even as an outsider, seeing how Jennifer treated me, Sophia found it incredibly cruel. Not to mention now that feelings had developed. Don't be afraid. In broad daylight, I don't believe the Johnson family can cover the sky. Sophia pulled out her phone to call the police, but was immediately pinned to the ground by two bodyguards. Jennifer's beautiful face was full of displeasure, stepping on Sophia's small hand, her gaze falling on me. You disappoint me greatly. My expression was shocked and angry. This has nothing to do with her. Let her go, and I'll come back with you. Jennifer wasn't happy at all, but became even more furious. I would rather die than go home. Yet now I was giving up freedom for a woman. Clearly, Sophia's position in my heart far exceeded hers. Jennifer didn't know why. Strong resentment surged in her heart. She had delayed her wedding 3 times for me, driving Christopher nearly to a mental hospital, even defying grandfather's orders to come to this town alone, just to tell me she wanted me to come home. That was all. During this time, Jennifer wavered constantly between me and Christopher, in terrible pain. When she finally made a decision, found a solution, couldn't wait to come to the small town. But what did she see? Me with another woman, making Jennifer mad with jealousy. Answer me. Jennifer, in her rage, ordered people to tie Sophia up and place her at the cliff's edge, her face becoming twisted. Are you willing to come home? My expression was terrified. I didn't dare resist anymore. Obediently knelt on the ground, trembling, begging Jennifer to spare Sophia. Sophia's face was angry. Don't beg her. Jennifer waved her hand, turned and walked toward the car, dropping a line. If you dare find her again, this will be her grave. My whole body trembled, feeling my spine turn cold. I knew Jennifer meant what she said. She wasn't joking. I looked deeply at Sophia, ignoring her pleas, closed my eyes like accepting fate. After a long time, I stood up and walked toward Jennifer. Sophia was thrown on the ground, disheveled. The car slowly drove away. Sophia chased frantically behind us, her face full of reluctance and pain. I turned away, numbly watching the scenery flash by outside, but it no longer had its former colors. Everything had become dark. Jennifer was satisfied with my choice, her tone rarely gentle. Only where I am is home. Don't worry. Even after I get married, I won't punish you anymore. Let's live well together. When we meet a suitable girl, I'll help you screen her. I didn't answer. Under my silent exterior, a fire of revenge burned. I no longer felt any gratitude toward Jennifer. Instead, I was filled with hatred. I had constantly retreated, even escaped thousands of miles away, yet still couldn't escape Jennifer's control. Hatred made me become calm. My eyes turned cold. I thought of a once-and-for-all solution. I was brought back to the villa, imprisoned in the warehouse for 3 days. I didn't resist. Whatever Jennifer made me do, I accepted, calmly. Except for looking at the night sky through the small window each day, I didn't say a word to Jennifer. When the imprisonment ended, Jennifer originally thought I would gradually forget the girl from the small town, so she exceptionally let me eat in the living room, personally made soup. At this time, her belly was showing, her face glowing with maternal radiance. Jennifer looked at me, sitting quietly at the dining table, rarely showing a smile, talking about the past. Do you remember that night when we came back from the orphanage? Jennifer served me a bowl of soup, her expression nostalgic. You were so careful back then, didn't even dare sleep alone. You slept in my arms, until you were 10, before I gave you your own bedroom. I remained silent as Jennifer continued reminiscing. I said I'd treat you like family, never to separate, and I won't break that promise. I promise you I won't hold a wedding with Christopher. How about that? I suddenly looked up at Jennifer. Jennifer was satisfied with my reaction, smiling slightly. Didn't you say if I got married you would die? Fine, I promise never to marry. We'll live under the same roof for life. How's that? My heart was far from as calm as my exterior. I never expected Jennifer would be willing to abandon Christopher for me. Too bad I was happy too soon. Jennifer continued. I've already taken a big step back. Not getting married for you. You should be happy. Don't make trouble anymore from now on. Christopher will come over later. We'll all live together from now on. I silently looked at the soup before me. It was a bit bitter, with a hint of absurdity. I thought Jennifer had changed so much. Turns out it was just selfishness. Not holding a wedding, but living with Christopher and raising the child. Me as an observer witnessing their happy intimacy. She didn't want to give up true love, yet couldn't bear to give me freedom. So she used this twisted method to imprison me. I wanted to laugh hearing this, but I didn't refuse. Just said, whatever you arrange, Aunt. Jennifer thought I had come to my senses, overjoyed, grasping my hand. That's right. Don't let grandfather be sad. This is the best solution. Soon Christopher came to the villa and saw me, a flash of resentment in his eyes. But his face showed a smile. Henry, good that you're home. We're family. Don't make Jennifer angry. After all, she's pregnant. He thought one sentence could sow discord, make me lose my composure like before. I nodded calmly. Brother-in-law, I understand. I won't cause trouble anymore. Christopher smiled with satisfaction. Over the following period, I behaved very docilely, didn't make a fuss about running away. I became the good nephew Jennifer had wanted. Besides caring for the pregnant woman meticulously, I showed extreme tolerance when Christopher provoked me. Jennifer saw this, smiling. She was certain I had become obedient, would never cause trouble again. This way, the three of them living under one roof would have no more conflicts. When the child was born, they'd be even happier. Time slowly passed. Over a month, I performed very well, was even allowed to go out for activities. But I knew this was another test from Jennifer. Each time I went out, I returned home on time. Gradually, Jennifer let her guard down. I didn't go to the remote small town, but wandered around the city sites. I was waiting for an opportunity. As I became well-behaved, Christopher grew restless. Before, he always had the upper hand. Jennifer would unconditionally favor him. The result was me being tortured beyond endurance. But now Jennifer seemed to regain her reason, no longer blindly favoring Christopher, instead advising him not to be petty. This nearly killed Christopher with anger. The better I behaved, the more Jennifer liked me, even forcing Christopher to apologize several times. Finally, Christopher was driven nearly mad to enter the Johnson family. He pretended to be devoted and understanding, but deep down, how could he possibly tolerate a third party's existence? When Christopher framed me again and Jennifer not only didn't indulge him, but slapped him hard, locking him in the warehouse, making him experience my past painful ordeals. I sensed the hatred in Christopher's eyes, but felt it wasn't enough. So, under my arrangement, I nearly died in a car accident. Through investigation, Jennifer discovered the mastermind was Christopher. Christopher knelt on the ground admitting fault and begging. Jennifer, originally soft-hearted, wanted to minimize the matter. But I pulled out the IV, pretending to be heartbroken and suicidal. Jennifer immediately changed her attitude. At her insistence, she investigated Christopher thoroughly. Better not to investigate. The deeper she dug, the more secrets she found. Jennifer couldn't believe Christopher had done so many bad things, whether falling from the building or the car accident, were actually staged. She thought about how wrongly accusing me made me suffer so much, flew into a rage. No matter how Christopher begged, Jennifer directly used the whip. A full 100 lashes, leaving him bloody, screaming constantly. Christopher was beaten unconscious, but this still wasn't enough. Jennifer ordered people to hold him down, saying she'd give me justice, also teaching him to be human. So all the pain I had suffered, Christopher had to experience it all, jumping from buildings, car accidents, even walking barefoot on burning coals. Through repeated torments, Christopher wished he were dead. After walking the burning coals, Christopher lay on a stretcher, looking at the two people standing at the door. His eyes shot deep resentment, especially seeing me standing obediently beside Jennifer, completely taking his former position. Strong murderous intent surged in Christopher's heart. He wanted to kill both of us. I sensed Christopher's hatred, wasn't panicked, but became excited. The chance to completely escape Jennifer was coming. Jennifer punished Christopher severely to vent my anger. She felt she wasn't wrong, hoping the two men in the house could coexist peacefully. After another violent argument, Jennifer felt their relationship wasn't mature enough, unsuitable for forming a family, so she aborted the child. Christopher had endured repeatedly, only because the child was their emotional bond. Now that the child was dead, Christopher completely lost his mind, looking at Jennifer, no longer with former love and tolerance, but unprecedented hatred. I sat in my room listening to them argue, my expression calm, looking out the window. The morning glories planted in the courtyard had bloomed. Before I knew it, I had stayed at the villa for a year. Christopher smashed the expensive antiques in the living room. Before leaving, he pointed at the second floor with a mocking expression. "Jennifer, you keep saying you love me, yet you keep Henry at home. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. You just want incest. Now I finally understand how disgusting you are. It's over between us." Jennifer was furious and struck Christopher. Christopher wiped the blood from his mouth and turned to leave. Jennifer watched his resolute figure. It seemed familiar, like seeing myself from last year, remembering the deep feelings between them. She planned to chase after him and apologize, but she was proud, had long held the dominant position, wouldn't allow herself to bow her head until Christopher's figure disappeared. Jennifer collapsed on the sofa, tears of regret flowing, cursing Christopher for not being a man. How much pressure had she endured to marry Christopher? That evening, I carefully prepared 4 dishes and a soup, came to Jennifer's bedroom door. Before I could knock, the door opened, revealing a haggard face. "Aunt, actually uncle-in-law really loves you. I sincerely wish you happiness. Since he cares so much, I should leave." My expression was helpless, showing a bitter smile. "No," Jennifer grabbed my hand, getting emotional. "This isn't your fault. It's his narrow-mindedness. You can stay. If he's being unreasonable, he doesn't deserve to be my husband." My eyes reddened, deeply moved. Over the following days, I cared for Jennifer attentively, more concerned than ever before, my gaze more affectionate than in the past. Jennifer remembered the beautiful memories we shared, finally couldn't hold back and cried in my arms. Deep in the night, a man and woman alone. Jennifer's breathing became rapid, her hands on my chest. In the dim light, her eyes released burning passion. Jennifer was moved, due to Christopher's provocation, plus the suppression during this time. She urgently needed to vent. She had forgotten our aunt-nephew relationship. Her eyes became confused. This was the scene I had fantasized about countless times through 9 rebirths, but at this moment my heart was completely calm, not even a ripple in my eyes. I suppressed my nausea, gently kissed Jennifer's lips, just a brief touch, then got up and left. My departure seemed flustered, deliberately appearing conflicted before Jennifer. This made Jennifer certain I loved her. Even began fantasizing about breaking taboos, actually being together. Jennifer watched my figure rushing upstairs, her lips curving in adoration. She deeply loved Christopher. This was determined by the book's world, but she couldn't bear to let me go. There was excitement in breaking taboos, so she sank into it helplessly. Jennifer didn't notice when she leaned in my arms. The surveillance camera in the corner flickered. I returned to my room and scrubbed my lips hard, wanting to scrub off the skin on my body. The intimacy with Jennifer made me instinctively disgusted, but for the plan, I could only continue enduring. Fortunately, the day of departure wasn't far. The next day, Jennifer received a phone call. Christopher had locked himself at home, threatening suicide. Blood flowed from under the door, staining the floor red, but no one could open the door. Jennifer truly loved Christopher. Frantically rushed to the Wilson house, got into a car accident on the way, and fell unconscious. When I woke up, the sun was already high. I sat by the window calmly watching the car leaving on time, until Christopher began his revenge. Through 9 rebirths, I had seen through one thing. Jennifer only ever loved herself. She was an extremely selfish woman. Christopher was a madman, only endured because his leverage wasn't enough. For a year, I stayed at the villa, pretending to be obedient, successfully gaining Jennifer's trust, making her think she controlled everything, little knowing it was all an illusion. I was reborn 9 times in this book's world. No matter how hard I tried, the result was just being a stepping stone for Jennifer and Christopher's love. But through Jennifer's repeated harm, I gradually realized there was actually another way to survive. That was to kill Jennifer, and Christopher was a very good knife. I sat by the window, silently waiting for that moment. The curtain swayed in the wind, covering the morning glories in the courtyard. 3 hours passed like this. The phone rang urgently. I looked at the name on the screen indifferently. On the 3rd ring, I pressed answer. "Henry, save me." A weak voice came from the phone. Jennifer was in agony. "Christopher's gone mad. He wants to kill me. You're still thinking about that bastard. You don't love me at all. Jennifer, you said we'd be together forever. Never betray each other. Through life and death. Now let's die together. Christopher, don't." A scream, then silence from the phone. I hung up. From the closet, I took out a suitcase I'd prepared long ago. Calmly walked out of the villa. This was the first time in 9 rebirths. I had no burden. Walking out openly, I didn't look back, because there was nothing to miss. Jennifer was dead. I had gained freedom. Freedom forever. I returned to the southwestern small town, walking on the stone path, passing through an arched bridge, my heart extremely calm. Finally arrived at the house, halfway up the mountain. I was stunned. The morning glories in the courtyard were in full bloom. But what attracted me were the peach blossoms in the neighboring courtyard. Peach blossoms blooming one by one, illuminating the entire spring. Under a peach tree, a familiar figure was painting. Lost in concentration, I quietly approached. She didn't notice at all. When I saw the painting, my heart was shocked. Wasn't this the very painting I had left unfinished? Someone had completed my heart's dream perfectly. I smiled softly, my eyes becoming gentle. Sophia seemed to sense something, turned back and met my eyes. Time seemed to stop. Peach blossoms still smiled in the spring breeze.